Hello, fellow league members. As the fourth season of our league is getting ready to start, let's take some time and let's talk about the keepers. At this point, you should have already selected your keepers, and if not, well, you are just out of luck as the deadline has passed. Looking forward to this season, 10 out of the 12 teams decided to keep at least one person from their team that they had a year ago, with three of the teams electing to select the league maximum of keepers, which was three, which means we will have 21 players returning back from last season on the respected teams. Two teams that did not select anybody, those are just the tip, and those were the Spectra, so there's no need to talk about those teams on who they kept and who they did not keep. So this podcast right here, we will take a look at the 10 teams that decided to keep at least one person, what that means for them moving forward. We will start from the bottom and we will work ourselves up to the top. Starting with the Hollywood Dino Crocs, they kept two people. They kept quarterback Carson Palmer and wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders. So the Dino Crocs, they will bring back a top 5 fantasy quarterback from a year ago and a top 20 wide receiver from a year ago. So if the Broncos can figure out their quarterback situation over there in Denver, then the Dino Crocs have a solid start to the season before the draft even begins. Up next, the Tallahassee Tentacles, they decided to keep just one person, but boy, is this guy a threat. He decided to keep Antonio Brown, the best wide receiver from a year ago, led all wide receivers in fantasy points last season, averaging over 15 points per game. So the Tentacles have a nice start to the season, even though they only kept one person, as Brown is always a threat in that Steeler offense with Ben Roethlisberger as the quarterback. The Chicago Jayhawks maybe had the most interesting keeper selection moving forward through this upcoming season. It's no surprise that they decided to keep Drew Brees, as he was a top 10 fantasy quarterback from a year ago, or Demaryius Thomas, he was a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy points a year ago. But the big surprise is they elected to keep a defense. The only team in the Peterson Orange Penis Fantasy Football League that decided to keep a defense, as the Jayhawks will keep the Patriots defense moving forward. It's a bold move, and well, we will see if it will work out for him. Los Angeles Limitless, they decided to keep two wide receivers, as they will keep Julio Jones and Dez Bryant moving forward. Julio Jones was second amongst wide receivers in fantasy points, right behind Antonio Brown. And Dez Bryant, before he got injured, before Tony Romo got injured, was off to a great season. So if Dez Bryant can stay healthy and if Julio Jones can stay healthy, he's got two deadly threats on the outside. There's Peter Law and the Limitless. The Corn Jerkers, who have made the move to Butte, Montana, they as well decided to keep two wide receivers. Two wide receivers that we really didn't see a lot of last season, as he keeps Alshon Jeffrey, who missed 6 games last year, and as well he will keep Kelvin Benjamin, who we did not see at all last season due to tearing his ACL in camp last season. So it's a bit of surprise with those two wide receivers, but they are two potentially great wide receivers. We know what Alshon Jeffrey can do, but we have yet to see what Benjamin can do. But he has two potential stellar wideouts on the season due to the Butte Corn Jerkers and John Johnson. The Super Saiyans, well, they bring back the Fantasy Player of the Year last season, quarterback Cam Newton. So already he's off to a great start on the year. And then as well, he will keep the bad man himself, the big man, Rob Gronkowski, one of the two tight ends kept this season moving into this upcoming season. So Cam Newton, Rob Gronkowski, and the Super Saiyans are off to a great start with those two players. The Seattle Tiny Raindrops, they will keep a running back and they will keep a tight end as well. They will keep Eddie Lacy, who struggled last season, but it looks like that he has lost some weight, and he has pledged that he will have a better season than he did last year, as he was ranked 27th amongst running backs last season as far as fantasy points go. And Tyler Eifert, the tight end from the Cincinnati Bengals, was also retained by the Tiny Raindrops, as he finished 8th amongst tight ends. Really had a stellar season, missed a couple games, and just had some surgery done on his arm in the offseason and his ankle. So coming off some of those surgeries, we'll see what Tyler Eifert can do moving forward. As for the Oakland Black Crows, they bring back 3 stellar offensive players from a year ago. They will bring back wide receivers Odell Beckham, OBJ, and as well they will bring back DeAndre Hopkins. So the Black Crows will have 2 of the top 5 fantasy wide receivers from a year ago, and as well they will bring back the muscle hamster Doug Martin, who was ranked 3rd amongst fantasy running backs last season. So they got some high-powered offense moving forward due to the Black Crows in Hopkins, in OBJ, and in Doug Martin. The surprise team from a year ago, Arms and Hammer, they bring back just one person, but is a heck of a way to start the offense, as it is Russell Wilson, who was amongst a great fantasy quarterback last year, as he averaged 21 points per game, and he was the 3rd fantasy quarterback last season, so it's a good way to start off the upcoming season with Russell Wilson and Arms and Hammer. And finally, your champion, the Akron LeBrons, they will be fully set at the running back position, as they will bring back Le'Veon Bell and Adrian Peterson. Now, Bell will be coming off that injury that he sustained last season, but Adrian Peterson was 2nd amongst running backs in fantasy points. And then as well, he'll bring back Brandon Marshall, who was 3rd in fantasy points at the wide receiver position. So if they can figure out that quarterback position over there in New York with the Jets, then Brandon Marshall should be set for a good season. And then as well, should the Akron LeBrons looking for their chance to repeat here in this POPFFL Season 4. That's going to do it for this podcast. The next podcast coming up will be the pre-draft podcast, as right now it's looking like the draft will be August 23rd, date not yet set in stone yet. I'd like to hear back from you guys if that date works for you. Once again, that is August 23rd, but for now, this is your Commissioner Garrett Sager signing off, fellow league members.